Manufacturing is evolving fast. Are you keeping up? I'm Justin Schnor, and on Manufacturing Momentum, I talk with industry leaders, innovators, and problem solvers about the tech, trends, and strategies shaping the future of manufacturing. No fluff, just real conversations to help you stay ahead. Let's get after it. I appreciate you taking the meeting.
I have a golf simulator league after we're done here. So fun stuff, you know.
Yeah, no, that's important.
All my friends are down in Florida, but I got to go with the video.
Yeah. Well, why don't you tell me a little bit about your role at Kimura?
Sure. So I joined Kimura Foundry America about a year ago, and you know what's unique about what we offer the industry is additive manufacturing, and what that means specifically is we use 3D X1 printers to print sand core and pattern. And then we use a manual gravity cast process to pour iron, steel, and aluminum castings. So it's a very unique way. You know, there's companies that print metals direct, but we do the sand cores so that way we get a production intent part for the industry. So really what our niche is and what we're servicing is prototype and very low batch volumes. We can probably do 1 to probably 100 pieces, but we offer the 3 different alloys. And most importantly, you know, we're domestically based in Shelbyville, Indiana, and have the ability to turn a casting around in as little as 5 days.
Wow. Wow. Yeah. And I was looking at that 3D metal process. Are you one of the few companies doing that? Because that is the first time I've actually heard of that.
Yes, and there's a number of companies that have 3D printers, and everyone kind of has their niche. And you know, you print plastic parts, you print metal parts, but the process we use, there's only a handful of us in the industry that go this route, and we are able to provide the production intent part, which is paramount when you're working with agricultural, automotive, heavy duty truck companies that can actually take your part, get it in 5 days, and actually put it in the field. It's a very challenging but a very unique process, where the marketing aspect comes in, and it's being in the right place at the right time to make the companies aware that we can provide what they need.
Yeah. Yeah. And I noticed your client list is kind of, you know, obviously, I'm assuming a bunch of engine parts in various industries, but how do you go about attracting and acquiring those customers?
Yeah, it's a great question. And so we're heavy in agriculture, we're growing automotive, but you know we've been to a number of different trade shows, and it's really just picking the right trade shows. And we were in one for automation, and we ended up bringing 6 different customers in just based on that trade show. It went food and beverage, energy. It's been a whirlwind, aerospace, and we're industry adverse. So coming from the Metro Detroit area, it was always automotive, automotive, automotive. And there is life outside of automotive, and certainly automotive needs to be a key part and a key aspect. But you know, there's product lines out there that have been in production for over 50 years, and there's paper models or there's no models. And you know, we have the ability to take that part, make one, keep the line going intact and do it quickly. So we have a number of different purposes, and it's really just defining, the value chain and where we can assist and inform our customers of what we are capable of doing.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. And then turning around stuff in 5 days that's unheard of, actually.
It can be a game changer. Yeah, and certainly that depends on our backlog, but we're pretty close, and
Yeah.
it's we can do parts up to 700 pounds in Shelbyville, Indiana. We use a lost foam process in Japan that we can do parts up to 2 tons. And it's just it's a really unique process. It's a very cool company to work for on the cutting edge, and taking some of your traditional older technologies of casting, but now putting a twist with 3D printed part cores, and making parts this quick. It's fun. I'm having a
Yeah.
lot of fun, and the team is really having a challenge of growing our US based business, but at the same point, it's a fun process to see what we've accomplished.
I actually just did an interview of Walker Manufacturing out of Colorado. They make lawnmowers and they do all the manufacturing in-house. And it sounds like they're ripe for a change
Absolutely. And in my trip last week to Japan, we visited the largest lawnmower manufacturer in Japan, and we work with them. They're US based as well. And so those are right up our alley and tend to, sit well in the printing process in terms of volume. Everything
Yeah.
with us is an envelope for how many parts we can print at one time, which kind of determines your cost factor. So that is perfect for us. And we're seeing a lot in the industry right now where a lot of private equity is coming in and they're consolidating a number of different companies, a number of different industries. And I think that's going to continue as we go forward and try to redefine our manufacturing and our production in North America across all industries. So I think this is going to be a common denominator,
Yeah.
at least for the short term, until we can get some stability and really define, I think, what the United States is going to be in terms of manufacturing and production.
Well, the obvious thing, the tariffs, is that gonna affect your business?
I believe that puts us in a better position. Quite frankly, there's not a lot, and I'm not sure how familiar you are with die casting, but die casting is volume, right? You put a die in and you run it and run it. There's not a lot of interest for some of the larger companies to dabble with, 1, 10, 15, 50 pieces where you have to stop your production line, do the changeover, and we can offer our services, get it in 5 days, but also no tooling costs and really play in that platform of minimizing the prototype costs, but being able to provide a service to our customers that allow them to continue their high volume production and allow us to do some of their prototype test aftermarket parts niche. Typically, the customer can command a higher margin on, and
Yeah.
it really sits well. But there's not a lot of competition in our segment and specifically that area.
So goals wise, you guys are where you want to be. You hit it 2024, and then you feel like you're positioned well in 2025.
Yeah, I mean, we have great ownership. We're fifth generation family ownership, and we do it right. It's not a just get every piece of business. It's got to be a controlled growth mechanism. Where we can support, we can provide 110% or exceed customer expectations, but also do it in the way where we can ramp up. 20% is typically the target. Obviously, we'd love to exceed that, but we're going to make sure that we take care of our customer and control our sales and our efforts in a manner that is sustainable for long term.
I gotta imagine, again, with the current US situation, that you guys are pretty well positioned. So are you just kind of doing all the trade shows that you can, or?
Yeah, it's tricky because as a marketing guy, it's high volume production. You got to be in front of the customer once a week, once every 2 weeks, and being on the prototype side, it's really looking at these are what programs are going to launch, in a year. So prototypes are required, right? And you start to look and start to angle, those ways. And certainly there's ways to find out who is awarded that business. But the trade shows have really opened it up, from the different segments to your point. We'll be going into marine, we'll be looking at defense, we'll be looking at military aviation, automotive, certainly additive manufacturing. And so it's almost like a good mutual fund. And you want to have the diversity of all the different markets and whatnot. And so that's our goal this year, is to certainly have the controlled business. But we have different targets for the different markets of where we need to be, targets for how many new customers we want to bring in, and certainly adding some of the secondary operations, which brings a higher value add per transaction. It's not one of those, in the prototype small volume where you're going to get, this is A to Z and don't miss any steps along the process. This is basically, you've got to manage it like your own business, and you run it the way that you want to do it. And, we all have our goals, and we're going to hit our goals. And the team is working toward achieving that.
Yeah, definitely. So I gotta ask, because I've worked with many manufacturing companies, and the marketing team's relationship with the sales team's is not always the healthiest.
Yeah.
Sales
Yeah,
guys don't believe marketing does anything.
that's correct. Yeah.
But it sounds like you kind of have a hybrid thing going over there. Like you might dabble in some sales as well.
Yeah, that's I'm responsible for marketing and commercial, but still, you always have the questions on the marketing side, and I was never a big trade show guy, and then you come to a smaller company, at least in the U.S., and really trying to get using LinkedIn, using the social media and whatnot, and really learning where you can do good things out in the exhibitions, the trade shows, and whatnot. And really the trick for us working between the teams is which shows do we exhibit at and which ones do we attend at. And so through things like Salesforce, we can track where we received our leads. Was it trade show? Which show was it? Review it. Purchase order wise, did we pay for the show? How many leads? And start to run those analytics on what makes sense for us for repeat, or then looking for some additional opportunities out there. That we went to CES this year, and great show, great opportunity. There's excellent contacts and networking, but for us to exhibit in that show, it's a little bit too big, I think, for us to really capitalize on the ROI. But to be present and have the meetings set up with the customers was ideal. Yeah. And then we'll have a number of shows that we'll re-exhibit at this year that were beneficial for us.
It's interesting. Are you seeing any trends in particular industries, or is there any big things that you've seen come up in the trade shows that you've been to?
Yeah, right now I would say the agricultural, the defense, energy sectors right now are starting off pretty strong. At the end of the fourth quarter, the start of the first quarter, automotive has been a bit slow to start the year, but we're starting to see a lot more activity pick up. And I think, with the presidential election and the change and getting the direction finalized in terms of regulations, and it's going to continue to evolve. But I think now we are starting to see a footprint, and certainly tariffs are going to be a part of the equation. But just what's going to happen in terms of EV versus traditional ICE engines is monumental for the entire country and probably the entire world. But yeah, now we're starting to see the automotive side pick back up, focusing on hybrid and a little bit more on some of the ICE, which bodes well for Kimura Foundry America, being able to do some quick parts for testing and changes that may have been on hold at the end of last year.
Yeah, because EV sales has, for lack of a better term, kind of tanked.
It has,
Yeah.
And you kind of talk through the industry, and the companies that went to full-fledged towards EVs are having to take a little bit of a step back and really refocus some of the efforts on ICE and hybrid. And certainly some companies have done better than others, and it's tough right now. It's a very tough place, and I'm glad to be on my side of the table where we can support all three in many different industries outside of.
Well, say 1 year from now, what does your job and role, what does marketing and sales at Kimura look like? Is it a lot of the same, or is it going to be such a big year that you're going to be taking meetings like this from the Ritz-Carlton?
I think the beauty of it is I don't think we've got the Ritz-Carlton team. I think we got our grit. We'll use our Dan Campbell quote, coming from Michigan, but I think, we've got a team that's hungry. You might find us on the golf course a little bit. I think we hit our objectives this year, which we're set to do. I think we'll look to grow 1 max 2 next year at this point. And then that just is going to come from expanding into different industries and different customers, and making sure that we have the right people in the right place at the right time, and really start to define who we're going to be as we go, and our pathway. Our marketing pitch can be pathway to 50 million in the US, and we're going to do it. Yeah. And so we'll be 12 months from now, we'll be a bigger team.
Yeah. So that's the goal for the next year of 50 million?
50 will be within 3 years.
Okay. That's incredible that you're doing all this with a team of 5.
I've got a good team.
Yeah.
Fortunate to have a good team and a hungry team, and you said, very entrepreneurial, very autonomous, and deliver results. So very fortunate.
Another question for you though. Do you guys do anything with disc couplings?
Yes.
Like you manufacture them, you're able to do that with your process?
Yes, we can. Yes.
I might connect you with one of my clients, Dave. He's part of PSC Couplings based here in Wisconsin.
Love the connection. That would be fantastic.
Yeah, I'll shoot you a follow-up email and I'll include Bob and Dave's contact info in there.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. That's why I love these meetings.
First off, I want to say thank you for having me. It was an absolute pleasure to meet you and be on the podcast. This is the fun part of the job, certainly, and getting out and meeting new people and philosophies and whatnot. Kimura Foundry America, I mean, basically, if it's a casting in iron, steel, or aluminum, we can make it. It's industry adverse. We range from automotive, heavy duty, military, defense, aerospace to food and beverage. And so we're out there. We can provide production intent parts in as little as 5 days. And we're there. We're based in Shelbyville, Indiana, domestic production, and would love the opportunity to speak with anyone interested in potentially partnerships with us moving forward.
For sure. You sound like you've done that before.
It's ingrained. I got a tattoo on my shoulder. No, but it's really that simple. When we go in for the pitches with prospective customers, it's like I only need 30 minutes, and really the pitch is everyone that we're talking to for the most part understands the basic casting process, right? It's age old. It's been around for a long time, and it's just essentially how are we different? How can we position ourselves? How can we help our customers? And at the end of the meeting, we either have there's interest, there's an opportunity, take a look at this. If not, understand here's where we're at, and we'll move forward. And that's the beauty of what we do. Being able to do several transactions is a fun process, and it's different, it's unique. We're not caught up in the long chains of mass production and the things that come along with that. And it's fun. I mean, we're having a good time, and it's always fun to meet new people, new companies, and new industries.
For sure. And kind of in the manufacturing industry, I like to use the term, it's kind of big kid toys, the whole process. It's the Lego stuff on steroids with like automation and AI and the Internet of Things built into it. So very cool.
Yes. Life is good. 2025 should be a pretty good year, and looking forward to it.
Yeah, likewise. If you ever find yourself in Milwaukee in the wintertime here, plenty of golf simulators around here.
Hopefully in the summer, but we do actually go there usually at least once or twice a year. So I'll let you know for sure. And if we can connect for a beer or whatnot, would love to.
Awesome. Thanks for your time, Mike.